You all already know there is a story behind every dish that is made, right? Well, this is a story behind this one. So I was craving ASUN Jollof Rice this particular morning, and I was like, you know what, let's make it. My initial plan was to make it for those of us that are at home. But wait for the twist, guys. There are some things that happen, you will know at the end of this video, that I did not see coming. And that's what made this dish interesting. Anyway, so I put on my seasoning. You all know my usual seasoning. My ginger and garlic paste, last salt, my favorite seasoning cubes, salt, curry, thyme, paprika. I use paprika in this because of course we are cooking jollof rice. And I added in the grated pepper that I was also going to use for the ASUN sauce. Then I added in water and I left it to boil for a while. And after boiling it, I just diced it up and I removed the part that I want to fry. So this is what I did with it. I put onions and bell peppers in between so that, you know, I'll use that as garnishing later, okay? So let's dive into the rice itself. Since we are making ASUN jollof rice, we are going to be making the sauce for the ASUN. So this is what I was doing. I put in my groundnut oil, fried in the pepper, onions, and then I went straight with that meat. Remember the boiled meat we diced up? Yes, that one. So this one, I had already removed this batch. I removed this batch of meat. I kept in the air fryer. This one was for the garnishing. And the other part, I just diced it into small chunks. So after that, I seasoned my pepper sauce and then I put in that meat. I put in the meat and I stirred it all together. I left it for it to fry together with the pepper sauce. That's what I'm doing right here. I put in the meat, I turned it together and I left it to fry. I made sure it was properly cooked before I moved on to the next step. So at this point, I already put my pepper into the oven where I was going to dry it. But guess what happened? This man called me on the phone and told me he is 20 minutes away from the house and he's coming with friends. Yeah, I was just happy that I have not made my pepper mix. I've not made the basis for the jollof rice, so I was able to just add extra rice, but I could not add any extras. That is my pepper. I've already diced it up. I've made out the ones I wanted to use, and that was what I had currently. The goat's meat was already prepared for the garnishing. I put that into the air fryer. It was just for small quantity, just for 3 persons. But this man just called me on the phone that he was coming with friends too, and he told me that whatever it is I am cooking, I should make sure that I include the visitors too. So I had to improvise. The only thing I know I could do here to correct whatever was going on at this point, I had more ingredients. For extra rice I was going to be adding. So I was just lucky that I've not made the pepper base for the jollof rice. So I went ahead to put my pepper base. I increased all the ingredients that I was going to use since I'll be increasing the quantity of the rice. So I went ahead to put the pepper meat and then I fried that. So I made use of the ASUN tomato paste. I made sure that it's properly fried. Then I also added the bay leaf so they can fry together. Then I went in with my rice. I stirred that together before going in with the goat meat broth. After that, I had in a little bit of water. Those of you that say you cook jollof rice without water, well, that's not for me because rice needs both water and steam to cook. That's not a conversation for today. So when I was done mixing that, I stirred it up together and I covered it with the foil and I left it to cook. On the side, I was making plantain because what's jollof rice without plantain? I was making plantain and I just stirred that up. You guys, guess what? While all this was going on and because of the tension that was in my body at that moment, I totally forgot about my goat's meat that was in the air fryer and it got burnt. Yes, it got burnt and I was disheartened. I was pressured. At this point, when I was turning this rice, the visitors were already in the house. You guys should know how impromptu they made this whole process for me. It was already late at 9. You know, a lot of things happened in between. And that's why I usually say that every dish has its own story. But you see, here at the Matt's Kitchen, we serve both the cooking and the gist behind the cooking. Everyone was hungry. I mean, that's the pressure I was using to cook. So at this point, I added in my goat's meat base, the one we fried earlier on, and then I put it into the rice and I stirred it. Then I went ahead to put my carrots as the only veggies I'll be adding into this jollof rice. So I left that in to cook, cover it up a bit, let it to heat up all together, and then I came back to stir it on. At this point, the visitors were already eager to leave, but I did not want them to go without tasting it because I already added their mouths into this dish. So I had to start dishing in takeaways so they could take home, while I did the one for us at home in a plate and I garnished it just the way I wanted it to be with the plantain and our burnt ASUN. Guys, I'm going to tell you, despite the rushing and all the impromptu meetings that were not expected, this still came out so fire. I would say this is the best jollof rice I've ever made. I know my jollof rice is always sweet, but this one checks out. Trust me to make this again, but this time with no rush. That'll be all for today. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in another one. Bye guys.